How's it going, ladies and gents? Today we'll be reviewing Fallout 4, a game developed and published by Bethesda Softworks for PS4, Xbox One, and PC. I'm Chance Butler with Comic Collector Live, and I'm doing these video game reviews because I'm youngest and coolest one in the office.
What? Hey.
Now, let's dive in. Fallout 4 takes place in a post-apocalyptic Boston in the year 2287, 200 years after a nuclear holocaust takes place. Just like the previous Fallout games, the world is filled with mutated creatures and hostile bandits. You quickly meet your companion, a dog wandering the wilderness by himself, and set off on your adventure fresh out of Vault 111. Gameplay in Fallout 4 is exactly what I expected in a Bethesda game. You can kill anyone and loot anything. If you like someone's jacket, well, you're free to take it from them, in exchange for their life, that is. Bethesda did themselves yet again, but that isn't necessarily a bad thing. The gunplay is great, and VATS made a triumphant return this time around, allowing players to slow down the action and pick exactly how they want to decimate their targets. This time around, the difficulty has been upped a bit. Don't expect to enter the wasteland guns blazing and rip through every enemy you see, because oftentimes you'll end up like this, or this, and maybe like this. There are difficulty sliders if you prefer things easier or harder, but normal difficulty is what you're seeing on screen now. Overall, with a combination of VATS and good gunplay, Bethesda provides a fun experience in terms of combat in Fallout 4. I honestly have no gripes here, other than maybe the fact that the aiming is slightly wonky on PC, but we'll get into that later. The non-player characters in this game leave a lot to be desired. They're definitely a step down from previous Fallout games. So far, everyone I've met hasn't really been all that interesting, especially compared to the wild characters from Fallout 3 and Fallout New Vegas. Mix boring characters with the new speech system and you get some really flat interaction. There isn't really any more wild speech options that do crazy things. Instead, it feels like I'm playing Mass Effect 4 instead of Fallout 4 when it comes to the 4 options you get for interacting with characters. The word 4 is starting to sound a little bit weird. Anyway, really all you get with speech are different variations of yes, no, maybe, and a sarcastic option. This may not seem like a big deal, but for a role-playing game like Fallout, this is a massive issue for some people. I always felt Fallout was about interaction over gameplay in the past, but the roles feel reversed here. This could possibly be due to the fact that Fallout 4 has a voice actor for the protagonist now, whereas in the previous games the voice was left to the player's imagination. I always gave my character an Australian accent in my head. Moving on to graphics and development, let me preface this by saying Fallout 4 has been in development for over 5 years now. Bethesda is using a modified version of their same engine they use for Fallout New Vegas and Skyrim. This engine is old. I am actually surprised that Bethesda continues to develop with it, considering the fact that there are always the same bugs that tag along with this engine. We'll touch on bugs a little bit later, though. The graphics for this game are honestly a bit lackluster for a game that has been in development for so long. Bethesda could have taken the time to really polish these visuals and provide awesome textures and shading within the limits of their crappy engine and pop out an extremely stunning game graphics-wise. Unfortunately, this is not what happened at all. The game looks washed out, the textures range from bad to horrible in some places, and the character models appear clay-like and not real. I understand that some of this is a bit of a design choice, but Bethesda has a tendency to provide a mediocre-looking game and then leave the improvements up to the modders. Why make something the best you can when the community will do it for you, right? Let's talk bugs. Fallout 4 is a Bethesda game, so it's inevitable that there will be tons and tons of bugs for the release of this game. I expected nothing less than some weird character glitches and funny enemy AI, but what I got instead was an absolute mess. The game is developed primarily for consoles, which is not a problem at all, except for the fact that it runs terribly even on Xbox One and PS4. The game struggles to keep 30 frames per second, and on Xbox it will often hitch and drop to 0 frames per second. On PC, the game runs fine for some people and absolutely horribly for others. PC players are used to games having options for tweaking, and Fallout 4 doesn't have that. Except for some basic graphics options, the game doesn't let you change much. I had to go into the files of the game to actually turn off some unwanted things like VSync, mouse acceleration, and to change the field of view. Come on, Bethesda, it's 2015, these things should be expected in games by now. Not only are the options lacking on PC, but the performance was subpar. I had to tweak my game quite a bit to get a smooth 60 frames per second, and I'm running top-of-the-line hardware. I should be able to max this game out no problem, but that isn't the case. And for many people on PC out there exploring the wasteland, they will encounter random locations that just absolutely tank FPS. I sure hope Bethesda push out some patches to fix this, and to fix the hitches and frame drops on console as well, but it will probably be pushed onto the shoulders of the modders once again. On top of the performance issues, there are tons of weird bugs with enemies and NPCs. Like I said, this is a Bethesda game, and they are using the same engine, so this was to be expected, but I certainly had a little hope deep down that they may have sorted this stuff out by now. Characters sitting when they're not in a chair, enemies running headfirst into walls as their feet slide along the ground, weird spazzing when enemies enter cover, not to mention the super wonky camera movement when you're in dialogue. The camera never does what you want it to, and it makes Bethesda feel a little bit more like BioWare, honestly. Stay true to what you know, Bethesda. We'll continue to love you, I promise. Moving on to the user interface in this game. Honestly, I don't have too many complaints about this one. The menus are solid, and you can customize your colors, which is always a plus. The Pip-Boy works wonderfully this time around, and I have no difficulty navigating the various sections of it. The UI design is a bit dated, but this is Fallout, so I can't really take off any points for that. The only problem that I have here with the UI is the skill leveling screen. It feels extremely out of place for the game and more like a last-minute change on Bethesda's part. I would have liked to see something a little more simple here. The immersion and world detail in Fallout 4 is good and bad. The long, sweeping, broken-apart highways look amazing and really provide a cool sense of space, but mix that with frame drops and hitches on both consoles and PC, and it's easy to get pulled out of the immersion. I will frequently find myself completely immersed in the game only to be brought back into the real world by some wonky enemy AI or weird character bug. Also, I noticed quickly that the world itself is actually a lot smaller than I thought it would be. It actually only takes 11 minutes to run from one side of the map to the other side. This would be completely acceptable if there were a bit more verticality, but there isn't. That being said, I still absolutely enjoy the game and the map size doesn't bother me at all, but that isn't going to be the case for everyone. To wrap things up, I will say that Fallout 4 isn't anything revolutionary or mind-blowing, but it does satisfy that Fallout itch pretty well. I was really hoping for Bethesda to blow us away and really step it up with this game, but I can see now that they played it safe, which is perfectly okay with me. I rate this game 7 Vault Boys out of 10.